Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim from Palestinian schools in Qatar. Today we are going to take unit number 9, Once Upon a Time, and our lesson is today the grammar portion, period number 3. This grammar is not new for grade 11 students as they have already taken it in grade 10. This is precisely about relative clauses. So I am starting my class from clause. Before we jump to the main idea, let's go to the background of the study, which is about clause. This is very important to be understood by students, that what basically a clause is. A clause is something which is a subject, verb and object. We have two kinds of clauses. We have main clause and we have relative clause. So the main clause is a complete sentence and relative clause is something which has a relationship with the main clause. For example, here I give you the form of a clause. For an example, Aya eats an apple. Similarly, Lara plays football. If I take it as a main clause, this is the main clause, then I can add a relative clause to the main clause. To make a relative clause, I need some help. I need some pronouns, who, which, and that. For example, I told you about the woman. This is the main clause. And what is the relative clause? Who lives next door. I told you about the woman. This is the main clause. And who is that woman? She lives next door. So instead of writing she lives next door, we joined it with the help of a relative pronoun, which is who. And we know that. We learned it in grade 5, 6, 7, that who is talking about people, person, whereas which talks about animals or things. That refers to both people, animals and things. Similarly, let's take another example. See, I brought the relative clause in the middle. The main clause is the book belongs to my father. The book belongs to my father. Where is the relative clause? Yes, which is very thick. The book, which is very thick, belongs to my father. So which is very thick is our relative clause, which refers to book, which mentions book. So I gave you a quick review of a clause and a relative clause. Clause and a relative clause, and to make a relative clause we will use the relative pronouns who, which, or that. Now, this is our main topic of this period. I gave you the background study. Now, let's go to the main topic. Here we are going to take the types of relative clause. We have two relative clauses. Number one is defining relative clause and non-defining relative clause. As you can see that one is positive and the other one is the opposite of it. Defining, it tells something, and non-defining, it doesn't tell something. Let's go and read the details. What is the difference? A defining relative clause identifies who or what we are speaking about. Who or what we are speaking about. Like the term defining suggests, defining, telling who or what we are talking about. Whereas a non-defining relative clause just gives us more information. about who or what we are speaking about. See, defining tells you exactly what is important, what is needed, what is required. I was telling you about the woman uh, who lives next door. But the non defining relative clause tells you something which is extra, which we do not need it. Without it, the main clause is complete. A non defining relative clause is separated from the main part of the sentence by commas. In defining, we do not have a comma, but in non defining, we use a comma. Let's understand it more here. Examples: Lama is the girl who made cinnamon rolls. Now, I gave you this example. Lama is the girl who made cinnamon rolls. Now, who made cinnamon rolls is our defining relative clause. Why? Because this clause is telling me who or what we are talking about. See, if I stop my sentence here, Lama is the girl, the meaning will not be complete. Then the listener will ask, what? What happened to Lama? Who is she? What are you talking about? Give us more information. So, defining relative clause gives you the information which is important, which is necessary. But come to non-defining relative clause. Fadia, who lives in a villa, is a student. Here we need to add one more comma. Fadia, who lives in a villa, is a student. What if Fadia lives in an apartment? What if Fadia lives anywhere? Does it bother to be a student? No, it has nothing to do with Fadia as a student. So, who lives in a villa is an unnecessary information which we do not need. So, this is called non-defining relative clause, and it is separated with the help of comma. Dear students, add a comma here. There is a video on YouTube for relative clause. I showed it to my students, and if you have time, go on YouTube and you will find this relative clause video.
Hello there.
Since we do not have enough time for the video, so I'll go to the examples. Look at the examples, then complete the grammar rules by adding a tick to each row. Defining relative clause, non-defining. You can see that the defining relative clauses are giving you important information, and non-defining are giving you extra information. See here, I'll take an example, the rest you can read them. The woman who that phoned me was very polite. If you remove this clause, the woman was very polite. Again, the listener will not know who is that woman or what did that woman do. So we need to tell the listener the complete information that the woman who phoned me was very polite. Here, see the non-defining relative clause. Anansi, who is a clever spider, is the hero of the tale. Now remove the non-defining relative clause and check the meaning. Anansi is the hero of the tale. Again, the meaning is complete without the non-defining relative clause. Hence, it provides us with extra information. Now, after explaining non-defining and defining in detail, pause the video here and check your answers later. The relative clause is used to make it clear which one or which ones we mean. Defining. The relative clause is used to add extra information that we do not need who is a clever spider, who live with him, which grows very fast and very high. All extra, non-defining. We use commas to separate the information. Now see, did we use comma here in defining? No. It means we are talking about non-defining. The relative clause should follow the noun it describes. Now, this point is very, very important to understand. As one of my students, she asked me a question about it particularly. I told her that we use the relative clause should follow the noun it describes. Now, if you talk about defining and non-defining, both have relative clauses. See, which talk, which grows, that lives, who live, who found, who is a clever spider. Now, the question is that which clause talks about the noun? If you focus. So the question is asking you that which relative clause talks about the noun? Both of them. Both of them. See, here Jack has a bean plant which grows very fast. So which refers to the plant. And here, who live with him is sons. Anansi, who is a clever spider, is talking about the noun. Here also, who talking about the noun. Who talking about the noun. Which talking about the animals. So both of them are describe the noun. Both. We often use that instead of which or who in defining, and we can't use that in non-defining. This is also a difference between these two. We can't use that because in non-defining. Why? Because it is giving extra information which we do not need. But for that, in defining, we need it. Now pause the video here and just you have to join it meaningfully in order to make a meaningful sentence. Pause the video here and then check my answers. Join the two short sentences to make one longer sentence, replacing the underlined parts with relative pronouns. Use that where possible. Some children grow up reading stories. They have better exam results. Children who grew up reading stories have better exam results. So you just have to join them meaningfully. Now see, the story happens in Jaffa. Jaffa is a city in Palestine. So the story happens in Jaffa, which is a city in Palestine. Which is a city in Palestine. As we are talking about a city, we are not using who, we will use which. And we will use a comma because it's an extra information. Have you seen the letter? It came yesterday. Defining or non-defining? Defining. Have you seen the letter which came yesterday? Here you can add that also because it is defining relative clause. The man character is very poor. He has 3 sons. Now this is extra information because this is enough. So the main character who has 3 sons is very poor. Here you have to add a comma. Okay? Then here, now based upon these examples, we are going to solve this question as well. Now, look at the examples of defining relative clauses, then circle the correct words to complete the grammar rules. Children visit the other worlds that stories describe. Now look at that. In the examples, other worlds, the world. They learn to question the world that they see around them. That is the woman that I found. So if you focus these 3, that refer to children, the subject, or the other worlds, which is the object that stories describe. Children or the other worlds. They learn to question the world that they see around them. It refers to the world object. That's the woman that I found. So that refers to the object. See, in the examples, other worlds, the world and the woman are the subject or the object. As I told you, it is the objects. When the pronoun that refers to the subject or object, we can leave it out. Object, you can remove that because the pronoun refers to the object. Now you have to join two short sentences together to make one longer. Use that where it is needed, but leave it out if it is not needed. That's the car I want to buy when I'm rich. See, that's the car it could be or it should be. That's the car that I want to buy when I'm rich. Since it is talking about the object, which is the car, you can leave it out. That's why you left that and it's just written, that's the car I want to buy when I'm rich. Now look at this sentence. This is the book. I was reading it yesterday. This is the book. I was reading it yesterday. So what will you remove? You will remove it and you will write, this is the book I was reading yesterday. That's the film. That's the same film. I saw it at the cinema last week. What will you remove? You will remove it and you will write, that's the same film I saw at the cinema last week. This is a folk tale I remember from my childhood. She is the new student. She arrived last week, so we will remove she and we will write that arrived last week. Zarif brings back gifts. They are from different parts of the country. So we will remove they and we will write Zarif bring back gifts which are from different parts of the country. So relative clauses help us to make longer sentences, longer meaningful sentences. After that, I took a test of my class using live worksheets. Do practice your relative clauses using live worksheets. And this is me saying goodbye. Stay home, stay safe. Good day.